the banking system, and I'm like, this is kind of a giant Ponzi scheme.
Did you know you can get free money? Well, you can't. But one Charles Ponzi told his victims in the 1920s that you can. The premise was simple. You invest 100 shiny shekels into an offshore investment or a high-yield investment program with the promise of a return on your investment. You tell Bob and Bill about the opportunity, and they each put in 100 rubles. Mr. Ponzi takes Bob and Bill's cash and pays you as you were the earlier investor. Assuming each person tells 2 more friends who each put in $100, after just 32 iterations, there would be a total of 7 billion people and $7 trillion in the fund. It's important to note that regardless of the quantity of people in the scheme, only the first 12% of investors will profit due to this math that I don't really understand. 88% of investors mathematically will not receive a return greater than their original investment if everyone pulled out at once. The only way to profit is to sell quickly after more investors pile on for marginal gains. But you wouldn't, because Sir Ponzi himself is mailing you a letter every month telling you your position is consistently growing. Pulling out was basically impossible, as the sell order for your position required you to write a letter, ride a horse to town, then put it on a train for 4 days to New York. By this time, Charles Ponzi rug pulled and is in a bathtub full of your money in Sicily getting his balls licked. Also, being one of Ponzi's victims, you don't understand probability, statistics, or the inevitable liquidation of your assets due to exponential growth in a closed finite system. Wait a minute. Exponential growth? Closed finite system? Isn't that kind of the same as the global economy? Uh-oh. That's right. With the cerebral power of 1/4 of a community college degree in business, I'm about to compare the entire global economy to an outdated, fraudulent investment scheme. Let us commence with the obvious comparisons: crypto and pyramid schemes. Cryptocurrencies are a decentralized currency that depend on investor psychology to drive the price. In other words, it's a currency that increases if new buyers buy after you buy. Sound familiar? Bitcoin, Ethereum, fucking Dogecoin. It's where gambling addicts go to shroud their problem in pseudo-intellectual noise. I say this as somebody who made almost $800 off the last bull market, and then proceeded to lose it all. Learning to trade crypto is not a skill. It is a Ponzi scheme so complex and decentralized, our corporate gods decided to buy in because the government couldn't figure out how to shut it down. This is worrying for a variety of reasons. First, something that presently has zero substance or utility is the 10th largest asset on Earth, above Tesla, JP Morgan, fucking Walmart. You could argue that gold's the number 1 asset, also has no intrinsic value, but define value. Nothing means anything, we're all gonna die, but at least you can touch gold, feel its weight. Bitcoin is an intangible concept that's worth more than fucking Walmart. What worries me more is multinational investment funds like BlackRock, Vanguard, Bank of America, the organizations that gamble with our 401ks, lend our mortgages, lobby Congress, own a percentage of everything you see. They longed Bitcoin and Ethereum when the ETF released. That means the institutions that run our society are not above this. Our leaders knowingly put money into an investment scheme indiscernible from a Ponzi scheme. So, why is a Ponzi scheme bad? Let's contrast it to a pyramid scheme. As we know, a Ponzi scheme uses new investor shekels to pay off previous investors. A pyramid scheme has the same hierarchical dynamic, but instead of relying on one-time payments to enter the fund, it relies on consistent premiums generated by the sales abilities of the bottom 88%. The funds are then siphoned up the ranks of the hierarchy to the top 12%, who again are the only ones getting a proper return on their time investment. By proper return on time investment, I'm not saying someone near the middle isn't making a large sum of money in comparison to the citizens of a broader economy, although they probably aren't, but in a closed system, their amount of time spent laboring isn't efficiently priced in due to the inequality of profits allocated in the hierarchy. In other words, it's pretty much just not fucking fair. I'll give you a moment to think about what I said. Do you know that feeling when you're consuming some gruel with your grandparents in their 6,000 square foot house in a historic neighborhood, and they're just like,
Yep, bought the property back in 85 for $35,000. Just got a quote for 1.8. I'm selling it for 1.8 million. Me and your grandpa are going to Florida.
earlier investors in the real estate industry are cashing out right now. Buying a bunch of rental properties in the 90s is the same as buying Bitcoin at 10K. The cost of living compared to wages is worse now than it ever has been. Cost of food, rent, student loans, God forbid medical bills is soul-crushing, while more wealth is being consolidated in the pockets of the ultra-rich. The only way to be successful in today's society is to A. Be born rich. B. Be born 20 years earlier. C. Commit fraud. Whatever, complaining about wealth inequality online has been run into the ground by TikTok. Nothing changes unless you get off your phone and fucking do something about it. Also, the point of this video is to compare the global economy to a pyramid/Ponzi scheme, not as a critique of capitalism, but more of a thought experiment. What do humans do when we still desire women and shiny shit like our ancestors, but now we have the technology to handle really complicated logistics? War happens. But we also rally a bunch of people beneath us to allocate labor and do labor depending on rank. We make rules about what can and can't happen in society and break them if we have enough power, and we assign people a social credit score that goes up when you get a lot of people to work towards the same thing as you do, under you. Wait, isn't a social credit score a controversial value system assigned to Chinese citizens? If they have a low score, they can't ride buses, ride planes, go in certain spaces. Oh, that's the same as the US dollar. Alright, so what's the end goal here as a species? We know it's difficult as individuals to rise in today's economy because it's a developed system and the wealth belongs to the ones who've been playing the game long enough for new people to be beneath them. Ponzi schemes plotted on the graph are exponential functions without the infinite resources to continue funding, causing them to violently implode. The S&P 500, an index of the top 500 largest companies in America, looks kinda similar. Global population growth isn't exponential anymore. Access to resources is finite, that's why climate change exists. Technological growth is kind of exponential, but the advancement of computing power is stagnated because processors can only be so small. Also, most new technologies aren't breakthroughs like nuclear power, computers, cell phones. It's gimmicky stuff like AI art and beta male goggles. So why is the global economy exploding faster than technological growth, population growth, and even inflation? Is it humanity's insatiable lust for more? More zeros in your paycheck, more cars, more houses. Our greed will be our downfall. It could be because very poor people are joining the first world. Wait, that's exactly what it is. That actually proves my original hypothesis that our economy is a Ponzi scheme. I don't know about the rest of the first world, but in America, our borders are open. This obviously is not because our government cares about immigrants. A fresh population of desperate families with a burning desire for rentable real estate, that's a fresh layer at the bottom, which is exactly what our economy needs. Anyways, if you want to be a part of my Ponzi scheme, just donate $1 to my Patreon. God knows I could use it. Jesus.